Hey, so welcome back, and we're finally going to film this video. I tried to do this earlier this afternoon, but the 20 and 40 meter bands were horrendous. I really wanted to integrate a live HF spectrum part of this demonstration for the new WDSP feature found within SDR Angel 7.22.0. So here we are. It's the evening, and I think it's much better time to do the demo. Before we get started, for those that have seen my previous videos, you'll notice I'm wearing a hat. In this case, it's a ICOM hat. Just want to get this out of the way. There's no sponsorship or endorsement or anything, even though I do like my ICOM 705 and other radios. I just felt like wearing a hat, and my friend Ed, N2XDD, is who I have to thank for the hat. Recently, when I saw him and many other people at the Hackers on Planet Earth conference, he had a huge stockpile of ICOM swag like hats and bags and pens and stuff like that. So that's where I got this hat from. Ed, for those that don't know, was recently elected as the ARRL Hudson Division Director. And so just wanted to give him a quick shout out. And that's the reason why I'm wearing the hat. So anyway, back to what our goal is for this video is to look at the WDSP feature within SDR Angel, and also what we are going to explore as it relates to some comments that were recently left for people who don't understand how to save your settings and also workspaces. So I'm going to actually do this in one video. I think it'll work out pretty good. So let's get going. So just for some further background here, I have the latest version of SDR Angel 7.22.0 installed. This is running on a Windows computer. If you want to compile and spend the time to compile this in Linux, feel free. Same user experience. It's just that it takes forever. So I just like doing these demo videos within Windows. So you can see the version down here at the bottom. And then for the hardware side, I've already gone ahead and connected 3 different SDRs to the computer, and I'll show you that in a moment. But first, let's just take a quick look here. So when you open up SDR Angel, you're greeted with this blank screen. Now, it always defaults to what's known as Workspace 0 or W0. And what we're going to do for the intent of this video is we're going to add a few extra workspaces. So we're just going to click on Workspace and hit New. So we're going to have Workspace 0 through Workspace 3. So now what we're going to do is go back and click in, and you can see at the left-hand side of the screen, I'm clicking through the different workspaces. I'm going to start on Workspace 1. So first, let's go and hit the Receive button, and we're going to look for the first of 3 SDRs that I have plugged in. So this first one with serial ending in 000001 is an older RTL-SDR version 3 that I've forgotten about. So I got to change this to a new serial number so I could use it with other radios plugged in at the same time a little easier, like I've done for some of the other ones. So we'll make that one in our Workspace 1. Here we go. And let's find something of interest to monitor first, just to show you this in proof of concept. So I just have a small little antenna attached to this. So let's go 162.475 is a local weather frequency. Change the decimation to 1. I'll change the bandwidth to 1 megahertz wide. We'll increase the gain to 20. And as you can see, the tuner here is chipset R820, which is the older RTL-SDR version 3. We're going to turn DC offset on. I'm going to go ahead and make this a little bigger. And now I'm going to hit through Add Channels. And we're going to see this in a few minutes. We're going to eventually get to looking at the WDSP receiver. That's the new feature. That's the goal, the real goal of this video. But I'll show you why I'm doing this with Workspaces first. So instead of going to that, we are going to go to the narrow FM demodulator first. I'm going to hit Apply, hit Close. I'm going to turn the squelch down. We're going to change this to 25 bandwidth. I'm going to drop the volume down to like 40 so it's not super loud. And now we're ready to hit play. Here we can hear some local weather. There we go.
Lows in the mid-50s. Highs in the upper 70s.
We're going to let that run in the background. So watch this. So I'm going to drop the volume down. I'll just leave this kind of running in the background on low. So this is in Workspace 1. Now when I click on Workspace 1, we still hear the weather because that's coming from that SDR. So now we're going to go ahead and add yet another device. We're going to go to RTL-SDR 401. And maybe for this one we're going to do maybe some FM broadcast. Let's see. We'll find some local station. So we'll do the same thing here. Change this down to 1. You'll see that this is 828. You know what? Let's turn the weather off. It's getting a little too loud.
At Stewart Field, it was partly cloudy with a temperature of 61. Looking around.
All right, there we go. So just a little bit in the background. All right, so see, now we'll go back to what we were doing in Workspace 1. We're going to set this one up roughly about the same. 1 megahertz wide. DC offset. We'll go to channel. And let's do classic wide FM. Close that. Change the bandwidth up to 150 kilohertz. We'll drop the squelch down. And let's see. Oh, let's turn the audio off on that first. Alright, so now we'll go. Let's find some local FM broadcast. 103.7. No. Yeah, let's go with whatever is at 102.5. I don't think I've ever listened to that station, so let's figure out what that is. So let's see. Volume. Let's see what.
Give ourselves away to you as we preached unto you the Gospel of John.
That's probably why I have not listened to that one before. Some religious station. Let's find some music just for some. Alright, 101.5. That's better. Alright, so lower the volume just a little bit. Alright, so you should be able to hear in the audio that we have 2 different SDRs going. You hear Jimi Hendrix on Workspace 1. We have some weather. Turn the volume
Thursday,
back up on that.
mostly sunny. Highs in the lower 70s.
So you can clearly
West
hear
winds
that we
around
have 2
5
different
miles per
radios,
hour.
very
Becoming
far
northwest
apart.
around 5 miles per hour in the
Weather,
afternoon.
music, we have both
Thursday
going
night,
at the exact same
mostly
time.
clear.
So let's go ahead and close that out, just because it's getting a little loud here. But there you go. At least for the basics of understanding Workspaces, you can set up whatever you want with its own SDR and its own workspace. So if you have multiple SDR dongles or other receivers, you can set them up in their own workspace, and they all work 100% independent from each other. So now let's go ahead and say, if we wanted to just have this as our normal, when you open up SDR Angel, you want this to always start exactly how you left it. So what we want to do is go to Preferences, hit Save All. It says our current settings have been saved. And now I'm just going to go ahead and close out SDR Angel entirely. So I'll type it back in. Go ahead and open up in 3, 2, 1. Load current configuration. All right, and see exactly how we left it. We have Workspace 1, Workspace 0, and if we wanted to get back the sound, all we have to do is just hit play, and we have another song, and we can immediately go back and get weather. So that's how that works. That's Workspaces, and let's go ahead and close all that out to get us back onto WDSP. So that's how Workspaces are set up. So let's say, because I have 3 radios connected, now we're going to go to W2, Workspace 2. So we'll go to the 3rd radio, and you'll notice that as I select different radios in each workspace, the other radios disappear because they're already in use. So here we're going to go to what is this? A genuine SDR play RSP1A. And we'll go and play around on HF. And so this is where I'll show you the new DSP function and some of the little tricks that I found in playing around with it for the past week or so. So let's go ahead. We'll start around the 40-meter amateur band. And there's not much more that I want to change here. I'll just start with decimation 4. And we'll change the bandwidth up on this one. And we'll get started. So it's 7.02 megahertz. We'll hit play. And first, let me explain what we're looking at here. This is called My Location and some noisy power supplies due to some local solar panel installations. This is why my 40-meter band just has all this nice uniform noise. But if we change the decimation, which will allow us to shrink this further, you'll see that not only are we seeing the noise, like here on the mouse, it's very repeatable, but we can clearly see the welcome dots and dashes of Morse code in the 40-meter band. So maybe we don't want to listen to Morse code. Maybe we want to do something different. So maybe we want to go and listen to some voice communications on the 40-meter band. Let's start at being brave here for this video. I'll hit 7200 kilohertz. Hopefully there's some people behaving. We shall find out. So we're now ready to go and open up one of the demodulators, and again, go up to channel, and then you're going to just go right down alphabetical order to WDSP. All right, so before we actually get into this, let me just share something that I find super great when it comes to SDR Angel. So I'm going to go to Git, I'm going to go to SDR Angel releases, and this is where you're ultimately going to download the latest version. If you've seen my previous videos, you know what to expect. Find the latest version, click the executable, download it, etc. We don't need to get into that. But every time that there's a new release, the author, Edward, F4EXB, does a really fantastic job in sharing what's changed, and most importantly, sharing some really great details in the wiki. So I really encourage everyone, go and take a look at this. If you have a few minutes, you can learn everything that I cover in these videos, so you don't have to go back and rewatch this and hear my annoying voice. So I'm going to go through a couple of the things that are different, and this is what I think makes the WDSP new edition very interesting. So Edward has borrowed some of this from Warren, NR0V is his call sign. You see that here. And this is part of a project called HPSDR. It's been around for a bunch of years, but this brings a lot of really advanced functionality that will make things like HF monitoring of sideband and Morse code maybe a little easier for those that are coming from a traditional radio or even some other programs. And so what this wiki does is it explains a little bit about some of the back end, and I'll show you some of this and why this is, I think, really fantastic. So the graphic that I really want to focus on here, see if I can get this to go bigger. There we go. So this crazy block diagram basically shows you all the different things that are going on behind the scenes. And so I'll just call out a few examples here. So there's some equalizer functionality, which we'll go into. Auto notch filter, automatic gain control. And you'll notice that automatic gain control is implemented at 2 different levels. So you can do this at pre or post DSP, or I should say pre or post automatic gain control, which is actually really neat. This was a conversation I was having with somebody the other day about how you could use equalizers and stuff as it relates to signal monitoring, beyond audio level stuff, but converting that to RF. And so this really shows you how complicated this is, but this software makes things really easy. So again, if you have some time, I certainly encourage you to look at all the great work that Edward and also srcjon have put into this wiki in explaining every little button and feature in this new interface. And if you've been a fan of SDR Angel for a while, most of the same functions and features and things, like if you mouse over certain things, it'll tell you what it is. So a lot of this should be relatively normal if you've spent some time in here. But again, well executed. You know, it really goes into a lot of detail. S meter, receive incremental tuning. You know, these are probably some terms that are familiar to some of you hardcore HF spectrum people. And also when it comes to the filtering, we can start to look at slope. And again, it really goes into some really great detail to help you understand what you're doing. And that's why I like SDR Angel. What you do, you can immediately see how it works. Here's like, we'll touch on the EQ and stuff like this. So hopefully I'm getting you kind of excited with what we're going to look at. So again, take a look on the Git repository for SDR Angel. Should be relatively easy to find. But yeah, certainly check that out. So, all right, so now let's get back into things here. So one thing is SDR Angel always outputs its frequency and receives signal indicator in decibels. In this case, a new feature, if we go ahead and click on dB, you see the mouse pointer, it's going to change it to what we look at on certain radios that have an S meter. So in this case, it goes S1 through S9, and then plus 10 dB, 20, 30, 40, 50, 60, etc. So this will make for a different experience in a less technical environment. So if you want a traditional S meter bar graph, you now have that option. It's very easy. You just click it and it'll toggle. I'm hoping that this actually comes through on some of the other channels that we have available and some of the older decoders that we have. So that's the first thing. Second thing, if you wanted to just toggle easily between sideband, AM sideband, or even FM, you can do that all within WDSP. Whereas in the past, which are still going to be available, you have separate decoders or demodulators for AM, narrow FM, and sideband, which also does Morse code. So those will still be there, and we'll do a little bit of a comparison on the AM side. So we're going to go hit apply AM, and I think we're going to go to the AM broadcast band for this. I feel like that's safer than waiting for some AM activity on 40 meter ham band. So we'll do that. So we have, we'll change the frequency. Let's go to, I don't know, 1450 kilohertz, local station to me. And what you'll notice in the spectrum plot is you have a yellow and a green stripe. So you can see on the waterfall, looks like a voice type of programming station. And since we have two demodulators, I'm going to make them match. And so what I mean by make match, see how I'm mousing down here in the AM demodulator? We'll call this AM Classic. And if I do offset tuning, you can see I can jump around. And so we're going to park this right at 1450 kilohertz. And this is 10, actually, you know what, let's make it 10 kilohertz wide. There we go, 10 kilohertz wide. And now we're going to do the same thing up here so we get the same experience. So we're going to set span to 10. And we're going to make, oh, there we go, AM, that's what I wanted. So we're going to make this 10. And then we're going to make it give us the same output that we're seeing on Classic. So let's go 6, we'll go 12, And we'll make this 10. There we go. So see how I'm making it the same width. So here we go, 5 kilohertz on either side of center. And just to show you that we're doing that correctly, see I'm now moving up at the offset. So we have both channels that we're going to look at are both exactly 10 kilohertz wide. We're going to monitor the same exact frequency with the same signal, just so you could understand what this is going to be like comparing the two. So let's go ahead and we'll move some things around, kind of in Bob Ross painting things fashion. So again, before we actually hit the audio here, just as a reminder, we're still doing weather, and oops, we didn't, must have closed that out. We'll get Wide FM running in the background as well. So, sorry about that. So yep, so as you can see, you know, we have multiple radios going at the same time. Everything's coexisting nicely, all in their separate workspaces. So getting back to WDSP. So the first thing that we're going to do is let's give a quick listen to the AM Classic. So this is without any filtering or anything of the sort. So let's drop the squelch down. Alright. I was hoping it was not going to be political. Let's find something else. Let's go to 1390. I think that's a Spanish language station. Spanish programming. Alright. You can definitely tell that we're in the evening hours. You can hear the phasing on AM drifting a little in and out. So let's go ahead and see if we can clean that up with the synchronous detector. So that cleaned it up just a hair. All right, so let me let you listen. So this is what we're hearing without any fancy filtering. All right, so we're going to go ahead and mute that. So now we're going to go back up here to WDSP, turn the automatic gain control on, and then we're going to hit play. All right, let's go ahead and do the same thing. We'll turn the synchronous detection on. Alright, so you can hear that it's pretty much the same in terms of signal and stuff. Now, the interesting thing with this particular station is their engineers don't realize that they have like a really nasty 100 hertz or so hum intermixed with a bunch of other junk. So that's actually going to be a great thing to show in this demo of how great some of the filtering functions within WDSP actually work. So I just turned the volume down a little bit so you could hear me and what's going on. So we'll turn that back on. First thing we're going to look at is noise reduction. We'll turn that on. And you can hear it sounds a little bit more bassy. And if you right click on your mouse, you can then go and change some other features. Like I mentioned earlier, we have pre and post AGC. So depending on what you're looking to accomplish, you can go ahead and give a try to some of these different functions within noise reduction. And they have two different options, NR1 and NR2. So you can definitely tell that there's very pronounced noise reduction. So we're going to go ahead and turn that off. Now we're going to look at noise blank. So noise blank is going to appear to not really work too well because there's no noise like a motor. But if you wanted to, you could right click on it and you can change some things. So if you're using this in an area with something that's like a motor or some continuous type of annoying signal, you can find ways to get this to match out through zero, meet, hold, sample, all sorts of cool things that you can play around with here. Some of these features you don't even find in some of the real super high-end radios out there. So this is really getting into the magic of what software-defined radio is about. So we're not going to really spend time on that. Turn the sound back on. Here we have automatic notch filter. Turn it on and off. So you can hear that it's doing some attempt at cleanup, but really what the power is within this, I find, let me turn the audio down a little bit further. No, 20. So 5. There we go. So now we're going to look at the equalizer function. So this is what's really neat. We're going to do this in real time, so you'll look at this. For anyone who remembers, like Radio Shack had like those cool graphic equalizers back in like the 80s and 90s. You have a 10-band equalizer, but what's unique is that you can change the frequency peak on a per band basis, which is actually pretty unique. So let's say, for example, if we want to change the default from 63, it usually gives you a range. So band 2 will go from 49 up to 94. So you can tweak not only all of these, but also how much suppression or gain that you're going to want to look at on a per channel basis. So I'm going to go ahead and make a couple adjustments here. I'll show you how this works. So we've changed a couple values. Now we're going to enable it. So watch what happens when I drop down the gain. You're going to hear things changing in the receive. So obviously the sound's a little tinny, but we can change this. And the goal of this is we're trying to cancel out some of that station-induced hum. Turn the overall gain up a little bit. So this is with my custom EQ settings. We can hit it's on. Now we're going to turn it back off. That's with it off. And that's with it's on. So I think that makes like a pretty huge difference. This is going to come in real handy for voice, music, even Morse code. So certainly give that a play around. Another cool feature that you have in here is you can save all these presets. So this little knob right here, let me mouse over. So select profile in profile bank. So watch what will happen as I change the numbers. So we are in slot 0. You can save all of your equalizer and noise blank settings, which is actually pretty neat. So it has a total of 10 slots. So you can set all your preferences and everything, and you can save it. So it's really easy. You can dial in your EQ and just save everything in one shot. That I think is actually pretty cool. So again, that's how that works. And now finally, we're going to go back up to amateur radio land, and I'll show you how well the CW filter works. So we'll go up to, let's see, where do we want to go? Maybe we'll go to 80 meters. Let's see if we could find some Morse code fun. There we go. Looks like we found a winner. All right, so first thing we're going to need to do is we're going to change that back from AM to sideband. And then we're going to go sideband. And I'm just going to zoom in here. Let's turn off classic since we don't really need that. And so here we have, looks like we have some Morse code around 358, somewhere around there. Let's dial in the exact frequency. And I'm just mousing through. Where'd it go? 358. There we go. We'll get that on the center of the screen. Okay. So let's go ahead and give a listen. We're going to fine tune this in a little bit better, but this is what we're hearing right now without any filtering. And what I might want to do is narrow this down. So we're going to shrink that a little further. You can see that on the spectrum scope. And then I'm just going to tune right back up. Get it where it's a good level of audio. Make it not too high. So you see how tight the filtering is? And we're not even there yet. Alright, so we'll stop here. Now if we go to CW filter, we right click, you can change things like your CW peak by like 700 Hertz, and we'll leave bandwidth and gain as it sits. So now if I go ahead and turn this on, we're going to hear what the difference sounds like of what I've manually dialed in before I hit the CW filter. So we don't hear anything, it is that tight. So let's go ahead and move the frequency so I can actually hear something. You got to get it right on top of it because it is super narrow. So narrow, in fact, we probably got to increase that. Let's try it now. And I'm just moving things down here with my mouse. Alright, we're getting closer. You can see how tight you can make filters. I would challenge anyone, even with some of the really great analog radios of the day, to do something similar. Alright, I think that's pretty tight. Now let's get it even further. We'll go back here, we'll make that even tighter, move it back up. Almost there. You could almost make it too tight. So you get the idea. You can go really tight. You can really blank out any adjacent signals. It would be great if I could do this during a contest, but hopefully you get an idea of how narrow that we could actually make this and clean up some noise. Here's the ANF. Turn noise reduction on even more. Noise blanker. Again, you can really get these signals to pop right out at you. So hopefully this gives you a little bit of a better understanding of how WDSP works, as well as Workspaces. And before we finish things up here, let me show you the last workspace. So again, we'll just let this run in the background, and we still have the other two radios going. So everything's all still coexisting perfectly. So now we'll go, let's say, for example, we go Workspace 3. And maybe you might want to set something up with some of the not dependent on a receiver features like solar tracker. So let's go ahead and hit apply. And so I found that up in features, and we're just going to hit apply here. Wait for that to turn itself on. All right, so here is the solar SID found again. As a reminder, you go up here to a little wrench, add features, and there's some really cool things. If anyone is going to Ham Exposition in Massachusetts just in a few days in August, one of the keynote speakers is Dr. Tamitha Skov, who's known as the Space Weather Lady, and you'll probably be familiar with this. This is the sun, and the little splotches here are where there's been tremendous solar activity. And so there's ways that we could actually look at that in terms of how strong and what the time was and what type of flare that was. And so you can do all sorts of neat things with this. And let's say, for example, if we hit play, let's change this here, 2024, what are we in, August? So watch what will happen. I'll change this by day. So you're going to notice in that graphic, we see the solar activity changing. We're going backwards in time. So you can see how things have changed. And down here on the bottom, I'll hit this feature right here. Whoops. So you can see how things have changed. And so you might want to do things like this in a separate workspace just so you have them handy. Maybe we'll add another one. Maybe let's say if we want to look at, oh, I don't know, satellite tracker. Let's try that. So here it should default to the International Space Station. And my approximate location, I'll hit play. And we can see the location and next path over my location. And so we can do that. And then maybe further, if we want to look at that on a map, we could do that. So I'll hit apply map. This one sometimes takes half a minute or so to load since it's a little graphic intensive. So let's give this a second. There we go. All right, so here's the map tool, and I like to run this in its own workspace with a dedicated demodulator like APRS or something of the sort. So I'm going to go ahead and clean up the map because I don't want to see everything. So we'll just turn off everything, and this is why saving things is helpful. So I'll just turn off everything except for satellite. Turn all these off. You know what, we'll leave solar on too, just for fun. All right. So now I want to go ahead and wait for everything to just kind of clear itself out of memory. We are going to be able to see the space station. Let's find where it is currently. You can see the blue stripe. There's the International Space Station over off the coast of Australia. Let's take a quick look at that. Let's go ahead and make this bigger. Actually, that's going to open up on my second screen, which I don't want to do. All right. Hopefully this gives you some idea. This is some neat stuff that you can do within SDR Angel. So again, if you wanted to have this just running in the background on a separate workspace, and you can go up to the other ones and go back and check what we were doing, you can do that. And again, how you want to set this up, just make sure that you hit save all, so this way the next time that you go ahead and open up SDR Angel, everything is exactly the way that you left it. So again, thanks for the time. Drop some comments in the chat, and I'll see you in the next video.